What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing as best as you can do after that result. It's Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1 from the Emirates. Another disappointing result in a disappointing week for Manchester United. You've got bad result on Tuesday. Announcement made. What day was the announcement made? Thursday it was made. And then bad results on Saturday. So a pretty eventful week for Manchester United and more disappointment in the Premier League, unfortunately. Joined by the panel, as always, I've got James, Faz, and Cam with me. I'll start with you, James. How are you feeling? How are you feeling after that disappointing result?
Yeah, great, mate. Great, good as always. I think your final words before we went live were, let's get through this, right? And I don't know whether you meant this stream, this season, this transition, this rebuild. Yeah. I don't know what you meant, but we need to get through it, man, because none of us were really expecting a result today. It seems like Arsenal have gone through their little blip and they've come out the other side. I don't know how long this little blip's going to take for United, but honestly, we're just watching. I mean, in fairness, today was better than what we've been watching recently, right? But it still wasn't good enough from a performance point of view and from a results point of view. I was just never confident of us getting the 3 points. And no matter how optimistic any of us four are, I'm pretty sure that's top 4 over. Sorry to steal your thunder if that's a question.
I think that might have been over a long time ago, to be fair, James. I think that might have been got a while. Even Marcel has said that top 4 is gone at this point. So I think even when Marcel's saying, yeah, it might be done, as that's when we have to be quite concerned. Faz, how are you feeling after that one?
No different. Standard usual day for me. I told you this a few months ago, but then I was a pessimist. According to some United fans, but hey, you now swallow your own pride. You will all now swallow your own ego, and I'll pass it on to Cam, who will professionally break down the shit show that we just watched. Yeah, no different for me. I knew this was going to happen.
Go on then, Cam. Professionally break down this shit show that we just watched. In the words of Faz.
I mean, it was better than last week against Liverpool or midweek, whenever it was. But I think, to be fair, I mean, you could see a lot more effort until Bruno missed the penalty. And big games do change on big moments like that. Until that happened, I think we're actually okay. But after that, the last sort of 15, 20 minutes, that was a disgrace. It was back to just no desire, no effort, no attempt to run after the ball, put a challenge in. And there's too many players who, in the first sort of 65, 70 minutes, were absolutely awful. And then just disappeared, didn't want to do anything after that. And it was... I mean, before we get into any tactic stuff, if people aren't putting the effort in and it doesn't look like they are, then you're not going to get anywhere. And Paul Scholes has come out and said that he's had a bit of a chat with Jesse Lingard in the week, and apparently the dressing room's a disaster. And it does sound like what's happened is Ralph's gone and probably everything he said in public, imagine how much worse it would have been in private in the dressing room. So he's probably gone and had a massive go at them. They've obviously not taken it well. And yeah, this is the position we're in. But it's going to take the best thing for all parties now, as you said. Let's just get through it, get through the end of the season and let them reset, give them a break. And hopefully by the start of pre-season, half the players aren't there and the new ones that have come in have got some hunger because this is terrible.
Is that when you sympathise, Cam, with Ralf Rangnick? Because like you said, if you can talk about tactics and you can talk about all these kind of things, but let's be honest here. If you are managing a group of players that aren't listening or aren't trying necessarily, like what are you supposed to do?
I think with the ones that aren't trying, it's pretty clear that they need to be replaced in the summer with people that are trying. But the problem is some of the players is even worse. Some of them are trying. The likes of Alex Telles, he's putting in effort, but he is terrible. I don't know. Whoever scouted,
really poor. Yeah.
Head scouts have gone, haven't they? Now, thankfully,
yeah.
But
that might be why.
Yeah. I think honestly, not Luke Shaw, Telles and Tavares are probably the 2 worst left backs in the Premier League. And I was finding it quite hard before the game today to work out of the 4 fullbacks on display from both teams, who is the worst of that bunch. And I've stuck a tweet out, and there were people saying, replying with all 4 of them as possible options. It is so bad. But Telles in particular, I know Tavares was awful, probably the worst on the pitch today, but Telles is a Man United player. He can't do anything. I don't understand what... He was supposed to be good at crossing. He can't get that right. He goes forward. He doesn't overlap, but then he's never in the right place to defend the transition. Like, if you're not going to overlap, how is he always out of position defensively at the same time? He does neither of those things well. He's got the turning cycle of a 3-legged pony. He cannot do anything else. He can barely pass. whoever scouted him, I hope it was one of the guys that's gone, but if it's not, just get him out of the club because he's a waste of space. I don't know how he's playing games for Man United. I'd rather, honestly, Brandon Williams is 10 times better than Alex Telles.
It's a big call, that. It's a big call, that, Cam. But yeah, I agree. Me and DJ were talking before the game, and the fullbacks have been an issue for United all season anyway, but today just continued to expose that. I think before the game, James, I was saying that just 5 minutes in, I just had a feeling we'd be like 1-0 down or something like that. Not because I'm like Darren Brown or anything like that, and I can see the future and all that kind of stuff, but because we've seen that how many times this season. We saw it against Liverpool in midweek. How many times have we conceded early goals? And today was just more of the same.
Yeah, it was, mate. You must have had your Bernard's watch setting off because we conceded after 3 minutes, didn't we? It was absolutely awful. Like we didn't even get the full 5 minutes today. Like, we just don't start quick enough, and then we don't do the middle quick enough, and then we don't finish quick enough. Like we're just not good all over the pitch through all stages of the match, mate. And our confidence is so fragile whenever anything goes wrong. Like as Cam said, we were 2-0 down. Ronaldo gets the goal back, and from that period, from half time until Bruno misses the penalty, we're actually okay. We're creating chances. We look half decent, and it looks like if one team's going to go on and equalise and win, it looks like United. But then they missed that penalty, and Bruno's head's down, and as it should be. And it's just like, just looking at it, and it's like, come on, like show something. And all that fight just disappears. It's like second half of the few games that we've seen in the past couple of months where it's like we concede and then the heads just drop. And it's like, what's wrong with your mentality that we just can't put together 90 minutes of a performance or 45 minutes of a performance? We just can't do it for a full game. It's absolutely atrocious. So I've said Ten Hag's got a big job on his hands. He's got a big job no matter how many players he brings in. But learning who he can trust out of these players to put in performances and apply what he tells them week in, week out is arguably his toughest job because he's got a load of people that literally have no professional pride and don't care. They just don't care, mate.
Faz, talk to me about Bruno Fernandes. We could probably spend the entire hour, I think, probably talking about him after that performance. One, he was named as the captain today because, of course, Harry Maguire was on the bench. But it was one of the games that we have seen from Bruno Fernandes this season where we've said before that if he's playing and he's not playing well or he's having an off day, you might as well not have him on the pitch because he will become a detriment to you if he's not playing well. And we saw that today, whether it's missing the penalty, of course, misplaced passes. I remember at one point in the first half, Telles did a short corner to him. He overhit it. He blamed Telles for the pass.
Oh, and crazy.
Crazy. What do you make of his performance?
Look, he's had a contract extension. He's going to be in this club. And more than anyone else in this club, when Ten Hag comes in, he has to look at Bruno and really find something in him to be able to stay in the club. Because this, my famous word, unforgivable. You can't. No, it's not, James. I know it's funny, but you can't.
I agree with you, mate. I agree.
Look, it's no one's fault. The game could have been turned around at 2-2 in the first half. Within that first half an hour of the game, it could have been turned around like that. Tell us, if you don't try and Jackie Chan the ball, instead just put your chest to the ball. Just go like this and put your chest to the ball. Put your stomach, something, instead of trying to Jackie Chan the ball. But it's the thing is, we lost the game, but it's the most simplest mistakes. A penalty, guys, a spot kick, a penalty. If you cannot hit the target, or like you don't deserve to be a professional footballer.
Well, that's why I asked, Faz. That's why I asked you, because I remember you being particularly upset with when we played Middlesbrough in the FA Cup and he missed that opportunity. And is today not pretty much the same, if not worse?
You know why I'm not so upset? Because I knew we're out the top four. That mattered to me when he missed against Middlesbrough because that's a domestic cup to look forward to, you know? That's something to look, whereas this is week in, week out, grinding out the league. Whereas domestic cup is something you can still cheer for. Look at the Arsenal fans. They still cheer about their dinner plate that they won and the FA Cup. They still cheer about that. So it's something that I could have looked forward to, but he took that away from us. And even this look, as much as I said top 4 was done, this was the decider game. That's it. That is it. West Ham will come and take us out the 5th position. We will end up in Conference League. This was it. And the penalty kick, I said it, and in my head, I knew people are going to say Ronaldo should have taken it once he misses. But it shouldn't be that. That shouldn't be the case. If you've got the armband on, put the ball in the back of the net. How embarrassing is it? You came off and you have to pass the armband on. You know, it's embarrassing as a player.
And it came off for Juan Mata as well. It did just come off. It came off for Juan Mata in late April of 2022. He's coming off for Juan Mata, and realistically, that's because Mata probably had a better chance of affecting the game than he did.
And he did. And Mata showed that he had a bit more efficiency going forward. Whereas Bruno didn't. He had the one job that he had to do, and he didn't. And he starts having goal, and he's got this tendency that he's got this bullying tendency about him. Going and blaming other players. No, it's fine. You know, when the other players mess up, it's okay. You can blame them. But stop it. You're the captain. You're supposed to lift everyone up, not put everyone down. And Maguire didn't even play today. So we can't even, Mr. Maguire is out of the conversation as it is. So it shows the core of the whole team. Like the whole centre-back, midfield, striker, everyone. Ronaldo issue, stop it now. Stop it. Stop all this Ronaldo issue talk. This man we gave a contract extension to has cost us top 4, has cost us domestic cup, and he should have been the one to be sold, not given a contract extension.
Super chat from Jay Washington says, we deserved more. Bruno and Telles lost us the game. I think we're caught up there. Just don't want to miss any. I think we're caught up. James, we'll go around the houses when it comes to Bruno Fernandes, but what did you think about Bruno's performance today?
I'm kind of glad I'm on with this panel, to be honest, because we've all got similar views on Bruno Fernandes. I think we all agree on what he can bring and cannot bring to the football club. And today was an example of what he cannot bring. And the opposite number 10 is an example of a number 10 that I would like in our football club. Someone that links up play, someone that controls the tempo, someone that's just got much, much higher football intelligence than Bruno Fernandes. Odegaard was levels above Bruno Fernandes today, absolute levels in basically every aspect of the game. Bruno Fernandes misses chances galore at the moment. I don't know what it is. I had no confidence when he stepped up to the spot that he was going to even hit the target from 12 yards, and I'm sure you guys didn't as well. It's just crazy with Bruno because first season, 28 goals, 29 goals, something. This season, people say he's still got good stats. He's got 9 goals. Considering he takes a lot of our penalties, that's not really a great return for the season, especially considering his return last season. So the thing is with Bruno, he doesn't control our play. He doesn't track back. He does track back sometimes, but he doesn't all the time. He doesn't hold his position well. So he's a bit of a stat padder. And that's great when you're padding stats. When you're scoring 29 goals in a season, you get away with that. Ronaldo gets away with that, right? When he doesn't contribute anything else. But Bruno is not stat padding at the moment. He's not contributing a lot. And there's several players that I'd rather see in that number 10 spot at Manchester United. I'm sorry.
Which players in particular? Because me and DJ were talking about this during the game. That if you do look at the United squad, who can play in that number 10 role? Are we almost limited a little bit?
Well, we are, and listen, you don't know how they're going to perform, but people that deserve a shot, Juan Mata, Jesse Lingard, Jadon Sancho, Hannibal Mabry, Shoretire, there's 5. And Bruno Fernandes shouldn't be an automatic pick straight away on the team sheet. So I'm not saying that they're all better than Bruno in the number 10. I'm saying that when his level of performance is so poor, that some of them deserve to be given a shot, because I'm sick of the name on the back of your shirt determining your starting position for Manchester United. It's happened with Harry Maguire for far too long. It's happened with Marcus Rashford for far too long. And it's happening with Bruno Fernandes for far too long. And I'm sick of it. So I hope that when Ten Hag comes in, he can change that ethos and we can start looking at players he can trust, players that fit a system, like Cam says, players that put effort in, and start rewarding those players instead of the players that fall down to the floor, moan. What was Flex's Sherrard's thing? Like this on the floor, this, like moaning, this. Yeah, because that's exactly what he does, mate. He moans. I won't mind if he was producing moments in games to win us them, but he's not, mate. So, yeah, my 2 cents on Bruno, not too positive at the moment, mate.
Cam, what do you think about Bruno? I mean, we've had the conversation quite a few times, haven't we? Whether it's on the Full View or whatever, about you talked about Bruno's deficiencies as well as what he does offer Manchester United at the time. Was today almost the perfect example of those that do criticize Bruno? Was today the perfect example of that would be if they were going to say someone, this is why I don't rate Bruno, this is why I feel Bruno's overrated or whatever. Would today be the perfect example of what they would be trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, there was a stat that I saw earlier today that he's got as many bookings in the last 3 months as he has goal contributions, which is horrific. I think it's only 3 of each, which is, for a player that was so good in his first season, the levels he's dropped off now are ridiculous. And as James said, when you've dropped off, when you're putting numbers out like he was in his first season, fine, you can get away with maybe not being the sort of the most useful player for the team because the numbers are coming out. But now that they're not, he's in big trouble. I tweeted earlier, there was a sequence just before half time. We had a corner. It came through to him on the opposite side because the corner was massively overhit. He volleys it. It gets blocked. And then for some reason, there's 3 players running at him after the block to get to the rebound. He decides to go and press the ball, knowing full well Tavares is on the ball at this point in sort of left position. He knows full well that Saka and Odegaard are sprinting behind him. He sees all 3, goes to press Tavares, even though he's never, ever getting there. And it's just a really easy ball down the line from Tavares to Odegaard, and Arsenal nearly score. Stupid mistakes like that at top level football, they cost you. And that whole thing happened within the space of 2 seconds. But if you've got a player who's consistently doing that, consistently making the wrong decisions, and he's 25, 26, 27 now, he's old enough that that's going to take a long time to change. It's going to take a lot of effort. And that sums up his play style. He makes the most stupid, childish decisions most of the time. He does whatever he wants to do. And the problem is, if you're trying to build a team that has a structure, you can't do that. There's the reason that so many teams don't use a number 10 now is because if you have a number 10 that is like that in the sense that they want to go and get involved in the play, roam all over the place, you lose your link in the middle of the pitch. Bruno does that so often, goes elsewhere, left channel, right channel, and as soon as he's out of that central role, we have no link. We can't keep the ball. We can't transfer it side to side. And then you're relying on Scott McTominay to try and do it, which just isn't going to happen. And I think that's the problem with Bruno. It's the mentality. Technically, yeah, sure, he can do a lot of stuff with the ball. He's not as good as sort of your Pogba's and your De Bruyne's, technically, but he's a very good player. And but the difference between Bruno and someone like Odegaard is just mentality. Odegaard's so much more mature, so much more composed, and he trusts the players around him. It's so clear that Bruno doesn't trust the players around him, and he wants to do his own thing to make up for what he thinks is everyone else's deficiencies. And it doesn't work. If he's going to press 3 people by himself, at top level football, those things cost you. And when he's defending a corner counter-attack, he's part of the reason we concede so many chances. Because if you've got players making stupid decisions like that, it rubs off on everyone else. All of a sudden, Dalot and Ralf in the corner are left defending half the pitch against 4 Arsenal players. It just doesn't work. And I can still remember KG's reaction the first time I said I think it was on the Full View, that Bruno's our version of... I can remember his reaction, but I don't know what he would say now. Maybe we can.
I think he'd probably agree. He'd probably agree with you. And it's interesting because Travarelli says suddenly he's crap. I think the entire team has regressed. He'll be look much better next year. Faz, do you think it's a case when it comes to Bruno then of, everyone's playing badly, so he's regressed just as much as everyone? Or is he a bit of a standout case, do you think, in what's been a really poor side this year?
No. You are a product of your environment, unless you're Ronaldo. Even Ronaldo, I mean, considering his season now, he probably isn't happy, right? He's within the top ranks of the goal scorers in Premier League, and he's probably still not happy. But other than that, everybody's had a terrible season. So I agree with Cam that Bruno's probably trying to do 3 players' job. He's running around pressing everyone. He's trying to score. He's trying to pass, make the awkward passes. He's trying to get in behind. He's trying to do everything by himself, and it's not working for him. And that's exactly what's costing games. That's exactly what's costing us to get counter-attacked and get caught out of possession and things like that. But, you have to look at our squad as well. Is there another player that could come and turn the game around? If we took Bruno off the pitch, is there another player, really top-level, world-class Premier League player, Manchester United player, that could come and turn the game around? No. We actually have to... Okay, we put at one point, I saw Lingard as centre forward today. At points, I'm seeing Lingard as a striker. So we actually, as a squad, we really need to add a lot of players to this squad to be able to say, okay, well, if situation goes bad to worse, can we bring 2-3 players in? Considering it's 5 subs next season as well, can we bring 2-3 players in that can turn the game around, that can bring some pace. Rashford at the moment, he's not bringing anything. Lingard, he's going to go. Mata, he's done. He's going to go. Matic, he's going to go. Pogba, he's going to go. So, and all these players, they're not even at their peak performance at the moment. Pogba himself as well. So we're in a bad place as a team, as a whole squad, as an organization. We're in a bad place. I can't just, as much as I blame Bruno for missing penalties and everything, who are we gonna replace him with?
But this
that was my point. That was my point of, you bring Mata on, but realistically, it's not really who you want to be bringing on. But do we need then, Faz, in the summer, in addition to all of these other positions we have to recruit for, are we also looking at, I think Bruno needs a bit of competition in that number 10 spot too.
Yes, 110 million%. Every player needs competition in their spot. Every player needs to look back and say, well, someone's there fighting for my place. Look at how City do their squad. Look at how Chelsea, they have players that they can rely on, but us, we actually don't. And look at the amount of players that are out at the moment, right? Greenwood, he's out with his situation. Cavani doesn't want to play. Pogba checked out. Luke Shaw checked injury as well. So overall, we don't actually have players to challenge for positions. So these players, except for Maguire and Varane, the Varane being out and Maguire being always fit, we don't actually have players challenging. Don't know why Eric Bailly is not on the pitch. I would have played Eric Bailly as left back.
He wants to be on Instagram, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would have let him play as left back. I don't understand why. I really don't get it. So we really need to go and get at least 6 to 7 players, challenging squad, not rotation, but first team, starting quality players that can challenge these players, the ones that are going to stay, that can challenge them for their position.
Super chat here from Imran says, this surgery needs dignitas, not open heart surgery. Jeez, man. That took a dark turn, that super chat. We talk about this though, James, right? We talk about the disappointment of the result today, poor performances, individual players, and all that kind of stuff. But I asked this question after the Liverpool game. I'll ask it again here. But are you surprised? Did you go into this game today thinking that we were going to get a result? Did you go into this game thinking we were going to win? Is the outcome as you expected?
No one here is shocked, mate. I can answer for everyone. No one here is shocked. You said yesterday, with this announcement of Ten Hag, or whenever we did the live, with this announcement of Ten Hag, are you expecting a reaction from the players? Come Saturday at 12:30, and I was like, mate, stop asking me the same question. These players are brain dead. I was like, stop. I was like, literally, stop asking me the same question. The players are brain dead. Nothing means anything to them. Something they could get told that they won the lottery. Nothing affects them. They have nothing in between their ears at all. I brought it up like Rangnick said, we're not playing with a DM today, so all have your DM hats on. Didn't. And then he was like, today we don't play a high line, they'll get in behind. First goal against Liverpool, high line, they're in behind. It's like they don't listen. They don't apply. And I remember speaking with KG when we were on the Full View before the Liverpool game, and I was like, I'd love one of us to give the team talk, but it makes no difference if we do, because they don't listen. They don't listen. So how can we be shocked when they don't put in a performance, when they can't listen to tactical instruction from a coach who actually is probably, just touching on it, arguably the best thing to happen to this club post Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm so happy with Ralf Rangnick at the moment, and I'm sure that'll be clipped because of our league position and all that, but he is an absolute breath of fresh air into this rotten football club at the moment. The way he speaks so honestly about people, the way he's called out the mess, the way that he says we need open heart surgery, that we need at least 10 players, that we're 6 years behind Liverpool, all this stuff that every single fan of this football club, bar Marcel, has known for years. He is coming out and saying,
I spoke to him before the game. When he was like, 2-1 victory, here we go. I was like,
of course he has. Have we seen his Twitter handle change as well? Have you seen his little positivity thing on his Twitter?
Has he?
It's got Marcel and then a green and gold thing, and then it's got positivity, Mr. Positivity, and I was like, that'll change. It's Brandon.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure. But honestly, everyone knows the state of this football club, right? So are we shocked? No, we're not. Samina says, nice collab, guys. How did you get Randy Orton? You referred to me? Randy Orton? I wish. I mean, we managed to get Randy Orton, and next to me, we got The Rock. We're laughing, aren't we?
Well. Exactly. Or as Josh called you, James Guns, which
James
is
Guns.
just tremendous.
I'll take it.
He
was messaging me before that, and then he was like, "Oh, wait for this," and then he put something in the group. I'm like, "You muppet!"
Oh, brilliant! I loved it. Sachib says, "Why did Fernandes take the penalty? Bloody useless." I think, to be honest, speaking for myself, that we got the penalty, and I thought Ronaldo has to take it. I know Ronaldo missed one against Middlesbrough, but basically, it's Ronaldo who is scoring goals at the moment. He scored earlier on in the game. I thought it's a sure thing that he's going to be taking that penalty. The moment that it was Bruno Fernandes stepping up, I know his record is actually okay when it comes to penalties, but I just wasn't confident. Because when you've seen him play like that, and I know in maybe like the season, last season when there were no fans and all that kind of stuff, where we would get a penalty and Bruno Fernandes would play terrible the whole game, but he would score the penalty and then they go, Fernandes. But he's not even at that level this season. So I had no faith. I really did have no faith. Cam, I do want to talk to you a bit about the fullbacks from a tactical perspective, because there isn't actually a tactical perspective when we talk about fullbacks. Because I look at, say, that first goal that we conceded today, I look at just a catalogue of errors, right? A ball into the box, Varane swipes it, Telles swipes it, Dalot is playing them all miles on sides. I look at the second goal that we conceded, the penalty, which, I mean, I think it's quite soft considering we had similar instances in that game. But again, it's a Telles foul. The third one, you could say it's a good strike by Xhaka, but again, Bruno Fernandes loses the ball. The fullback situation at Manchester United, right? Is it even worse than we kind of previously thought? Because when we talk about transfer targets, people go to, we need a striker, and we do. And they go, we need like a defensive midfielder and another midfielder, which we do. But how high on the list should fullbacks be when we're looking at transfer targets?
They've got to be really, really high on the list, because I think for looking at any top club now, the fullbacks are the outlet. Any team now that is realistically worth watching or coached well, they use the fullbacks as the outlet because they know that most opposition are going to press through the centre of the pitch. The way most teams press is try and force the opposition wide. So if you haven't got players out wide that you know can defend 1v1, can recover quickly and can actually get the ball forwards, not just down the line like fullbacks used to do traditionally, but also actually make good passes into midfield, and sometimes fullbacks that can invert as well. If you haven't got that, you're basically playing with a man fewer than most teams. So if you're already starting with 10v11, it's going to be a struggle. And for us at the minute as well, with they're not the only players that can't do their role. So we've got at the minute, like right now, McTominay can't pass forwards in midfield, and the fullbacks either side can't do their job. So where are we expecting to be able to move the ball from defence to attack on the pitch? Because it's not happening through the middle. It's not happening on either side. The only time it happens really is sometimes when we get a bit lucky from a bad press from the opposition, or if we play a ball over the top. But I think today it was one of those where the fullbacks got a little bit more pressure on them because tactically we weren't great. I think in the first half especially, we did try and press Arsenal high, and they sort of dealt with it quite well.
It was just a disaster. When we were like that backline, when they were trying to press up, it felt like only the centre-backs were aware that they were meant to be pressing up, because both times, Telles and Dalot, my goodness, that was not a defensive line.
It was a really, really strange one. But to be fair, I think on that, you can't fully blame the fullbacks, because the way Arsenal were dealing with it was they're dropping Xhaka and Elneny quite deep. So Xhaka was joining the back line to sort of to give them an extra man against our sort of two of Ronaldo and Bruno pressing. So Xhaka made the extra man. Then Matic and McTominay would squeeze up really, really high, trying to follow Xhaka and Elneny. But because Xhaka was in the back line, one of them, whoever was following him at that time, would get confused and not sure whether they're supposed to go join him or to hold off. And that created a bit of confusion. The other one would follow Elneny. But then it left a massive gap between our defence and the midfield for all of the Arsenal forwards to drop into. So they found so much space between the lines, and the centre-backs weren't really dealing with it. The full-backs weren't sure what to do, because they could see clearly that all of those guys are faster than the centre-backs. So if one of them gets past, then they need to be there to cover. But also, they weren't directly marking anyone because they'd all tucked into the middle to be options beyond the press. And the problem was that early, because Arsenal were making the pitch really big, the defence was coming quite deep to get them the ball. They were able to pop those balls through the lines really easily. And as we saw for the second goal they scored in the lead up to the penalty, it was a really simple ball through the lines because Matic and McTominay had squeezed up and they weren't really sure what they were doing. And the way we need to deal with that is what happened in the second half, where Lindelof and Varane, every time the Arsenal, they went with them all the way, went with them and didn't let them turn. And if that had happened earlier, we might have actually had a chance of scoring a few more goals on the press. But little things like that, the details where you've got to be clear in your head, because otherwise you end up doing what Harry Maguire did against Liverpool. You go halfway with the forward, and then you stop and realise, oh, should I be doing this or not? So it's partly on Rangnick there with the tactical side, which means that the fullbacks end up getting put under pressure or keeping players on side. But it's also partly on the players. When the confidence is low and you're not sure what decision to make, it is a really, really difficult game to play. And I think sometimes we do forget that sort of at the top level, it is decisions which are made in 0.1 seconds. And it's a big decision between staying or going, but that can cost you a goal and often does. So, yeah, I think we did put more pressure on the fullbacks than we needed, but I think a lot of that was partly tactical as well, because when there is a problem through the middle like there was, everyone else has got to tuck in. So it was the fullbacks need replacing, but it's not the only problem by long stretch.
No, it's definitely not the only problem. As Ralf Rangnick said, it's not a, what do you call it? We need open heart surgery. Basically saying we need life-saving stuff at Manchester United. Otherwise, we will see what has kind of felt like a bit of a slow death at times, let's be honest. Faz, Rafael Varane was back in the squad today after a time out of injury, which did they ever say actually what that injury was that he was out for? I don't know if they ever did. They just went, he's injured again. What did you make of Varane's performance today? And now that we're getting more towards the end of the season, I suppose, how would you sort of sum up his first season at United?
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. I think him coming into this squad, he's probably looking at Maguire and thinking, how the hell are you captain over me? It's just sad, we brought him in thinking he's going to have a great season. And frankly, he's in a rotten situation where even whatever he does, it looks bad because of the position that we're in and the way that we're playing. I just feel very sorry for him, and I hope things pick up next season for him because he still has great abilities. He's still a really good centre-back. He can be a really, really good centre-back for us going forward. His injury situation, I just hope he can stay fit.
Can we expect him to, though? Because, for me, I look at the Varane situation now, and I agree with you. If he's fit and when he plays, he's our best centre back. I thought he looked really rusty today. I thought he looked like a yard off pace, which is surprising for him. But can we expect him to stay fit? Because we kind of have to be realistic with who we've bought, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, I don't want him to overdo it this season. I just want him to kind of see this season out. And just remain fit, have a good preseason, and have a good start to next season. I don't actually expect much from him. I don't want him to do much as well, to be honest, because we've got nothing to play for. We literally don't have nothing to play for. We players like him, for example, I'd be saving him for next season more than anything, actually. Rather than giving him full 90 minutes, I'd be making sure that he doesn't get injured and whatever, and just keep him happy, keep him simple, and look forward to somehow replacing Mr. Maguire and Lindelof and getting 2 new centre backs in if we can. Other than that, even Bailly probably leave as well, so that's another issue.
Well, you say that though, Faz, when it comes to the Maguire situation, because obviously he didn't play today, and I mean, it most likely has to do with obviously the circumstances in the week that he and his family went through, which is horrible, absolutely horrible. It just goes beyond football and then to me, that situation, that's not football fans. I don't think they can claim they're football fans, but football fan, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, it was horrible. But he didn't play today. And arguably, Faz, we were still defensively very poor. So do we also have to give that kind of energy that we were given towards Harry Maguire to some of the defenders that were playing today? Because again, defensively, it's just not good enough.
What do you mean? As in give Harry Maguire a break?
No, I mean, in the sense of obviously the criticism and scrutiny on Harry Maguire is a lot. And I understand that's because he's the captain and the price tag, all that kind of stuff.
Really bad. His performance is also really bad.
Yeah, but my point is today he's out of the side, and we still defended arguably just as bad today. So do we also need to sort of say, yes, absolutely, Maguire's not good enough, but also we still also have to be looking at that entire defensive unit.
With Telles and Maguire today, if we played Telles, Maguire, and Lindelof, it could have been 5. We're lucky that it was 3. It could have been 5 or 6. So against Liverpool, you saw what happened. So this man just needs to leave. As much as we were bad today, he still needs to leave. He's still even worse than what we played today. What happened in his personal life is absolutely unacceptable. Those people who made those threats or whatever, they're just scums and disgusting. That's the only words for them. But in terms of his job, his ability to do his job within this organization, no. I have no faith at all in this man. I get more fearful when he's on the pitch than anything. So yeah, he just needs to leave. And I think Varane, maybe Lindelof could be tweaked. Maybe if Bailly stays, I don't people are not a big fan of Bailly, but at this moment, even me, I would say keep Bailly. I would, because the amount of players that we need to get in terms of forward positions, I don't even know we'll be able to get centre back. So I would keep Bailly, I'd keep Lindelof, I'd keep Varane and work with that really. But Maguire just needs to leave. We need to cut our losses, get some money off him, and maybe look to reinvest it somewhere else.
Super chat from Kevin says, "Please end the season now." I wish. I wish we could. I wish we could. I wish it could be like FIFA and we could just rage quit the season, forfeit the remaining games 3-0. They might as well be. They probably will be anyway. So let's just end it now. But we cannot, obviously. James, what do you think Erik ten Hag thinks? We spoke about this the other day, but when he's watching the game on Tuesday, he wasn't officially announced, even though the deal obviously was clearly done by that point. But now that he has been officially announced to be taken over in the summer, do you think this is a situation where he watches a game like today and, as we spoke about before, it just sort of tightens his grip on getting what he wants? Or do you think he looks at it and says, wow, I have a really, really big job on my hands?
I think if you watch both today and Tuesday, he'd be slightly happier with today. But I think both of them are going to realise the size of the task that he's got at hand at Manchester United. I just want to bring something to Faz's point because I want to kind of give a balanced argument on the whole Maguire-Varane thing, right? Like, I completely agree that Maguire is not good enough for this football club, and I completely agree he shouldn't be captain. However, this is the full-time view for Arsenal 3, Manchester United 1, and he wasn't on the pitch today. Yet Raphael Varane was. And I'm a huge Raphael Varane fan, right? A huge Raphael Varane. But he dropped like a 4 out of 10 performance today. And if Maguire would have made that mistake for the first goal, we'd be giving him absolute pelters. That was not good enough from Varane today, and it was not good enough from Lindelof. So all I'm doing is analysing 90 minutes on the pitch. And if we're going to analyse that 90 minutes on the pitch today, sorry, Varane, wasn't good enough. So yes, that doesn't stop Maguire from not being good enough. No, it doesn't mean Varane isn't better than Maguire. It doesn't mean any of that. It means that today for 90 minutes, Varane was one of the reasons that we went, well, the main reason we went 1-0 down and one of the reasons we lost the game today. And like you said, he looked rusty. On the Ten Hag thing, yeah, he's just got a massive, massive task, hasn't he? I mean, we've gone, it's actually quite a nice parallel because Arsenal was the team we played the game before Rangnick came in. And Rangnick was asked about this game, and we beat them 3-2 at Old Trafford, right? It was Carrick's last game after he was Villarreal and Chelsea, I think, and we'd had a couple of good results. And Rangnick's words were something like, yeah, it was a good win, but we shouldn't have to score 3 goals just to win a game. We conceded 2 at home. That's a disgrace. And then the next 2 games after that, we kept clean sheets. I think it was Palace and Norwich, or Palace and someone else. And we kept clean sheets in them. And you thought, all right, well, this is good. This is a good start. And yet we fast forward months down the line. And are we defensively worse? I'm pretty sure we are. I think we're defensively worse. So it's like we've actually not managed to fix the issues from when he came into the club. And I said I'm a big Rangnick fan, but when you look at what's happened on the pitch, we've not seen as much progression as we'd like. Arguably, we might have seen regression in a lot of areas. But defensively, we are all over the place. So yes, we want Ten Hag to come in. We want him to play this beautiful possession-based football and for us to control football games and for us to score these, 40, 50 pass move goals and everything's all a bed of roses. But realistically, next season is going to be a really rough ride while we get to grips with trying to get these players to play some kind of system, to have some kind of understanding with each other. And Sir Alex Ferguson said, great defences win your titles. And we are shoddy at the back at the moment. And arguably going forward, we looked okay today. Ronaldo had one of his best games in a while without scoring all the goals.
His link-up play was solid.
It was. Ironically, in the 2 games he scored a hat-trick, he was relatively quite quiet. In the Norwich game and the Spurs game, he was relatively quiet. He offered a lot more to the team today. His link-up was excellent. And his give-and-goes were superb. He played a couple of passes early on to Alanga, which were superb. Like, absolutely, he played one into Dalot as well, where Dalot got tipped onto the post. Superb weight of pass. Like, Ronaldo's one of the best passers in our team, apparently. He was superb today. But actually, like, he can't do it all on his own. And unfortunately, like, the defence just let us down today. What's Ronaldo going to score? 4 just to help us win a game?
We can hope.
It's not going to happen every time.
We can hope that he will.
It's not going to happen, is it? So I hope Ten Hag watched because he needs to watch to see the project that he's got. But at the same time, I hope he's not like, look, sorry. I hope he's not looking for some kind of like quick fix where he can like Tipex or something where he can erase his name from a contract very quickly because there's a lot of work to be done at Old Trafford.
Yeah, there certainly is. Cam, what do you think Erik ten Hag might be thinking watching today's game? I think Arsenal dominated possession. Certainly first half they did. It was like 67 to 30 something. It was ridiculous. And we're meant to be playing possession-based football possibly next year. I don't think you spoke about Ten Hag since the announcement was made. So what did you think of the announcement? And also just how big is that job considering performances like today?
A huge job, and as James said, let's hope he's not got any Tipex because he's not going to be happy with it. But there's a lot of players. He knows already he's taking the job, but there's a lot of things that have got. He will have listened to Ralf Rangnick. I think anyone that probably in the game that respects football itself will probably listen to what Ralf Rangnick's saying about what's going on. I think when previous managers have said it, obviously when Mourinho came out and said some similar stuff, a lot of people would have probably thought, and like we all did at the time, that Mourinho was just sort of in it for himself, as he often is, and he said it in a selfish way, whereas Rangnick, he maybe said a lot of the same things, but he said it in a sort of let's fix this together kind of way, which gives you confidence that he actually believes it and he actually wants to help solve the problem. Whereas Jose, it was always a bit of, because we didn't know what was going on behind the scenes at the time as much as we possibly do now, thanks to Rangnick's sort of openness in press conferences. I think at the time we were sort of judging Jose a bit for it, sort of just like, don't throw your toys out the pram, there's no need. Now that we actually know that and we can see it and Ralf Rangnick's done it, Ten Hag's going to be like, well, this is giving me a head start. It's going to be really useful for him to know what Ralf Rangnick thinks, what's going on. And it looks like finally with John Murtough, yes, he's still someone that was, I think, appointed ultimately by Woodward, but these sorts of things with appointments like that, they take years to feed through into the first team and years to feed through into the academy. But it at least looks like he's listening to some football people now, and he's got some people that know what they're doing at the right places. And Ralf Rangnick, he may not have been the best managerial appointment. The games haven't gone well since then. But in terms of the role within the club, he's a fantastic person to have brought in. He's giving him 6 months to completely understand what's going on. He is going to be brilliant at spearheading wherever this club goes. And I just hope that the club give him the right amount of power under Ten Hag, because I think Ten Hag will want someone like that to work with, like he had at Ajax. And if the club actually listen to Ralf Rangnick, give him the power to help Ten Hag, we've got a strong force coming. I think they're going to have to make a lot of signings, but I think the way that Erik ten Hag sets up his teams, I think we're not actually as far away from that as it's at times. I think a lot of the gap between us and better teams at the moment is mental, and it is through confidence, through building up sort of repetition in what they're doing. I think there are good players at Manchester United where you're trusting top level football's games of decisions in insanely small amounts of time. If players are confident, those decisions they go for you, and you make the right ones so much more of the time, and that makes a huge difference. And I think the big thing for Ten Hag is implementing some structure that the players can trust and can rely on. I think when Faz was talking earlier about Bruno in terms of how he doesn't have much competition in the squad, I think that's possibly a good thing, because it means we haven't got a load of number 10s that we need to try and fit into a team. We can get rid of the number 10. I think the whole idea of relying on individual players is something that the top teams just don't do. Obviously, you can say that every top team will rely on their people in front of goal to finish chances. But in terms of building up and creating chances, every top team has their patterns of play. They have their reliable ways of building the ball out from the back, and they don't rely on individual players. Whoever you swap in or swap out amongst those teams, those patterns are intact. So that's the first thing Ten Hag's got to do. But I do worry a little bit that we're going to end up doing what's happened with Arsenal, in that we're going to have what they've had in previous seasons, where we may dominate the ball, we may be fantastic in possession, but we can't put the ball in the back of the net, and we end up losing a lot of games. Which is
arguably a bit like today. There were points of the game where you could say that whilst we didn't have a load of the ball, we did have chances, and we were dominating passages of the play, but they just got up the other end and score, because if they get a chance, our defence is so bad that it's a goal. And like you said, it's that turning that dominance into something.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I don't know if you guys have seen it. There was a clip from René Meulenstein, old assistant to Fergie.
Yeah, I think I saw that TikTok,
Yeah, the best teams are able to create rhythm, control rhythm, and change rhythm. The closest we've been able to do any of that in the past 10 years since Fergie left was probably under Van Gaal. Then we controlled the rhythm. We can create rhythm of the game, but we weren't able to change rhythm. It was so stale, it was so boring, it was so slow. We've got to get back to that, but then be able to change it and go up again when we need to. That's what the best teams can do. That's what any good team in possession can do. But right now, we're so far away. I think the difficulty is going to be training the likes of Bruno Fernandes, if you keep him in the team, to not play how you want to play exactly how the manager wants to play. And the big test for Erik ten Hag when he first comes in is, with those big personalities, can he get them to play the way he wants to play? And if he doesn't, if they're not going to listen to him, is he allowed to drop them? Leave them out of the squad, leave them on the bench? Does he have the power? Will the board let him play a theoretically worse team on paper, which is possibly what we might need to do? Because it's time that we can't just keep relying on individuals now. You've got to build a team that works together. That's what the top teams have. That's what we do not have. And to be honest, today that was the difference, really. And, well, actually, maybe not today because we didn't have chances, but in most games, that's been the difference between Arsenal and Man United this season, in that we rely too much on individuals. We rely on Bruno to create chances. We rely on Ronaldo to score goals. We rely on some magic from Sancho or Rashford. We don't have a team that can continuously produce the same things from the same patterns of play. That's a massive problem.
Jailbird says, what name that is, I didn't think we played too bad today. Individual mistakes and missed chances cost us today. Bruno and Tellers were awful, but the rest not too bad. I think the situation with that chat, to be honest, is that, yeah, if you were going to look at parts of the game, and if you're going to make like a highlight reel of the game, you'd say, actually, I did have some chances here and a couple of questionable calls and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, because that result was always going to be like that. That result was always going to come. And we knew that was always going to come. And that the way that Man United play isn't sustainable. It's not, because we play in those flashes maybe, but like Cam said, we either don't score or it disappears, or the momentum will just shift completely, and we don't manage that as well. And that's just the inconsistency of Manchester United. Yes, you can look at it at points and say, oh, we played okay at points today and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, we lost 3-1. And that's a pretty comprehensive result, really, in a game that a lot of people probably knew we were going to lose. Faz, we spoke a lot about Ralf Rangnick. And James was talking about earlier that he might be the best thing to happen since Sir Alex, right? And maybe opposition fans might say, "What, are you crazy? You're like sixth in the table. You're not going to get the Champions League. This was meant to be the guy to come in to get you Champions League this season after Ollie's failings and all that kind of stuff." But it's the stuff that he is saying in press conferences and interviews, sort of shining a light on some areas of the club, which maybe people in the club don't like to be shone on. Is that kind of where he's going to be most valuable in the next few weeks? And going forward, when Ten Hag is in, just how important is it to keep him around with the experience that he's had in the last 6 months?
It's very important what he's doing as in his press conferences and stuff, exposing and clearing out all the bad stuff that's going on in the club. It's surprising he makes comments and players go and tweet about it and say opposite, like Lingard did. It's actually baffling that we allow this stuff. We allow players to go and make tweets that jeopardize what the manager has just said. That clearly shows the division, the mentality of the players, the division between the board and the players and the manager. And yeah, it's all a mess. So Ten Hag, when he comes in, it'll be interesting to see if Ralf can actually continue his input, considering he's going to be working 6 days a month, or if he can maintain that input, and if Ten Hag will be as honest in his press conferences as well. Will Ten Hag continue the same tone that Ralf has used and be honest and open if Bruno's not listening, if Rashford's form is not improving? We'll just have to wait and see. But his experience, Ralph's experience in terms of finding talent, in terms of finding players, in terms of what he's experienced while he's been in this club for the past few months, is crucial. Absolutely crucial for Ten Hag to be able to succeed. And the main thing hasn't even started yet. This man has to come in the club, has to assess the situation for himself, has to actually see the players that he wants to keep, the players that he doesn't want to keep. He has to then go and speak to the board and say, I need, maybe 350 million. Because 200 million, in essence, I'm hearing the 200 million going about. 200 million is 2 players in this current transfer market. After age.
But do you think we would buy 2 £100 million players? Isn't that what we've got to get away from?
No, but Owen, it's if you buy 2 players for, let's say, 70 mil each, right? I mean, in the current climate, what are you going to do with the rest rest of the funds that you've got left, 50, 60 million.
But why do we have to buy players for 70 mil? Why can't we find a player that's 30 mil, 40 mil? They say it can't be done, but how much did Liverpool buy for Diaz in January? It wasn't super high money, was it? And he looks to be
Thiago for 25 mil, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
25 mil as well. But look, this is exactly what we have to do. We need to forget the Declan Rices. We need to forget the Phillips. Any player that is near 80 to 100 million mark, just forget about it. Just forget about it. Go for the players that are 35, 40 million, because we need a lot of players as well, and build the squad from then on. I'm really intrigued to see how this season plays out after the season, how the transfer market plays out, and what they actually allow this man to do and go and build. That's when you'll really see where the intentions are. Because if he doesn't get to buy the players that he wants, if we don't have a good transfer window, and we haven't had a good transfer window for a while, if we don't, you're just setting this man up for failure. And then within a few months, people are going to start saying Ten Hag out. So it'll be really interesting to see. Yeah, I'm interested to see how he does in the transfer market.
James, you mentioned earlier on saying that Ralf Rangnick has been the best thing since Sir Alex happened to the club. He also said in that same press conference, when he was asked about that consultant role, he said, once again, we haven't really sort of spoken about it, but he said, look, contracts are just contracts. They basically mean nothing. It's more of a case of, what does this club want? Do they want to listen to my opinion? I'm happy to stay. I'm happy to sort of do more and give my opinion, but it's up for whether they want to listen to my opinion. What do you think his future is going to be once Erik ten Hag comes in? Do you think he's going to be in this consultant role where, again, it's just a case of, maybe let's talk to Ralf, and they pick up a phone every couple of days a month? Or is he going to be more involved when it comes to recruitment and all that kind of stuff?
I'd love to see him more involved, but realistically, none of us know, right? Like, we don't know until it actually happens. In an ideal world, in my head, I've got this little Ralf Rangnick, Paul Mitchell, Erik ten Hag triangle going round, and they can all work with each other.
Perfect scenario.
In this perfect scenario, yeah. And Joel Glazer's just signing off checks and doesn't even care about anything else, and they take no dividends next year, and we're in the top four, and it's all happy. And me, Faz, and Marcel are back hugging after games and stuff. And that, in a dream world, that's exactly what's going to happen. But realistically, we don't know. We don't know whether the club are going to change the habit of the last 9 years and actually start listening to someone else and not having the owners sign off on minor decisions. We don't know whether any of that's going to change. So yes, I would like to see Rangnick in a job more than 6 days a month. I'd like to see him given the ability to build clubs like he has done in the past, right? You talk about it all the time, but he's been a sporting director more often than he's been a manager in the past 9-10 years. So that's where his speciality is. If you look at all the smartest and most successful people in the world, they all delegate to people that know more than them, and they all listen to people that know more than them. A very stupid person tries to pretend to know the answer themselves, whereas a smart person says, I don't know the answer myself. I'm going to find someone else that knows the answer, and I'm going to get them to give you the answer, right? And that hopefully is what the Glazers end up doing by bringing in someone like Paul Mitchell, giving responsibility to Ralf Rangnick, giving responsibility to Erik ten Hag and to footballing people to make those footballing decisions and bring Manchester United back to where they belong.
Cam, what do you think Ralf Rangnick's future at Manchester United looks like in the Erik ten Hag era? Are we going to be looking at Ralf the consultant, Ralf the recruitment specialist? Because especially in this week, right, when we talk about the Liverpool game, and he was saying in his press conferences before that game, about half their team I recruited at one point in their career, and you could do a 1 to 11 of just unbelievable players that he has signed throughout his time as a sporting director or manager, whether it's Haaland, Firmino, Mane, Manuel Neuer, Upamecano. I mean, the list goes, it's ridiculous. Werner. So would it be a waste almost if we have him as a consultant for just 6 days a month, as opposed to actually, we've just got rid of our chief scout and global head of scouting. We've already got the guy to sort of run that department.
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as I'm concerned, he should have an office for himself at Carrington. He should be in there pretty much every day to see what goes on behind the scenes, so he can he knows what's happening in the dressing room, so he can see how the manager's feeling, all that sort of stuff. And he can link with John Murtough, make sure that he knows what's going on, because this is what this guy does. He builds clubs. he makes clubs into clubs that play the way the manager wants to play, which is quite similar Ten Hag's vision to his own in terms of the out of possession stuff at the very least. So that is what the guy does. We brought him in to be a manager, which is a good thing. Now let him do what he does best. We've sort of had this experiment for 6 months. He's found out everything he can possibly know about the club. It's basically a free hit of a role. May as well do what he does best and let him build the club back to what it was. The only slight question mark I have with him, and this is something that Pep Guardiola struggled with himself in his first season, is that based on what he's seen before and his experiences, obviously him being here for 6 months already will help him. But is he able to work out what the right level of player is for United? Because sometimes it can be quite easy, and for the Premier League as well. I think sometimes it can be quite easy for someone who wants particular attributes. So obviously he's going to want players that are really aggressive, really physical, great runners, really quickly out of possession. But is he able to make sure that they're up to the level in the rest of their attributes? Because I think one thing Pep struggled with to start with when he signed the likes of Nolito, Claudio, they were good technically, no problem. But physically, they weren't up to the level for the Premier League. And obviously, because he's been here for a while, that may help him. But I do slightly worry that he might initially be pointing looking for players that are a little bit too physical and not quite good enough at everything else. So that's my concern. But to be honest, just give him an office, let him do what he wants. And if there's a clash between him and John, sack John Murtough as far as I'm concerned.
Can't call people out today. Faz, as we start to round things out here, how many points do you think we get between now and the end of the season? How many games are there left at this point? What, 5? I think that's 5, maybe. How many points do we get? Zero. 0 points.
We don't deserve points. I don't understand why
every
you
game between now and the end of the season.
We get. Why are we supposed to get points? We don't deserve points. I don't understand what's this thing. Like, are you guys not happy now seeing the club as it is? We don't deserve points, Owen. As Manchester United, we don't deserve points. 0. We shouldn't even be celebrating except for Ronaldo scoring. We deserve 0 points. Zilch, nothing. We don't deserve nothing. Nothing.
But what do you think? It's not necessarily about what we deserve, but what do you think we'll get between now and the end of the season?
Well, we got Chelsea next, right?
Yes.
Then we have Brentford after that, isn't it? So we're not going to get any. We're not going to get any points against Chelsea. It's like, as much as Arsenal beat them, I don't absolutely fancy them beating Chelsea. Brentford, draw. Brighton, maybe we beat Brighton. Crystal Palace do the dance with us as well. So 1 point. We have 4 games left, and I would say we get 1 point.
1 point. 1 point. James, what do you think? How many points do we get between now and the end of the season?
So what are the games and which ones are at home?
We've got Chelsea next at home, then we've got Brentford at home, we've got Brighton away, and then we've got Palace away. 4 games. Right.
Yeah, so 4 games, 2 home, 2 away. Well, there's a cheeky little speed camera right outside Old Trafford, so I'll get 3 points every time I'm going past there at the moment. Honestly, catches me every time. No, I don't think we'll beat Chelsea. I think we'll probably draw and win against Brentford and Brighton. I'm not sure which one. So 4 points there. And then last game, maybe 5 points, maybe a win and 2 draws. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was about 4. I think I wouldn't be shocked about 4. I think by the time we play Palace, final day of the season away, that's such like an end of season fixture with nothing on it that everybody cares about. You know what I mean? So I don't know, maybe like 4. Cam, what do you think? How many points we get between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, I think 4 as well. I think we get a point against Brentford, and I think we beat Palace on the final day. I think the Palace one will be one of those. Hopefully, we chuck some of the youngsters out. They run around a bit, and Palace is like that point. They're on the beach. They don't really care. I think Brighton will beat us. Brighton always a Lindelof shocker pretty much every season, isn't it? So I think
but look, that's going to be United between now and the end of the season. Just like today's game, everything's kind of fizzling out, and we've just got to think and move on to next season, right? We're already thinking about next season. I think some of the players are already. You can tell by performances like today. Anyway, guys, look, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Be sure to smash a like on the like button as well. Fan views, if they're not up already, will be going up very shortly with Flex, and I'm sure some very disgruntled Manchester United fans outside the Emirates Stadium today. I'm interested to see what Marcel's going to say, guys. I'm curious because I feel like even he at this point is kind of broken. which you don't want to see. You don't want to see Mr. Positivity and Optimism be broken down, but it'll be interesting to get his thoughts. Anyway, guys, look, we're out of here and we'll speak for you again very soon. Peace.